Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host for the week, Ashwin. I'm joined by Varun, who we haven't had on for a couple of weeks because it's been a very, very exciting phase of his life, as we shared with all our listeners a couple of weeks ago. Varun, congratulations. How exciting you've welcomed your daughter to this world, and it's been a little busy, I can imagine.
Yeah, it has been busy. Thank you guys so much. I know some of you messaged on Twitter as well. We had a daughter. Her name is Vani, and we're learning how parenthood goes and enjoying it, and also enjoying the sleepless nights. And I realize probably shouldn't have spoken to my wife so much about the fact that I used to wake up early to watch Sehwag bat at all odd hours of the day, because I think the expectation is that if you can do that, then this should be a piece of cake. So but jokes apart, it's been great so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is I was just thinking about this the other day. Actually, it's like the T20s, India's playing West Indies, started like 11 p.m. at night or something for you. So it's great. You're going to be awake anyway, so you might as well watch some cricket, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just it seems easier than you'd think, but yes, I did. It is pretty interesting because okay, my memory is a bit blurred right now because I'm sleep deprived. But
And
Ashwin,
it's allowed. This is allowed.
there was a game where Siraj had to bowl the last over, right? And there was 15 he had to defend or something
Yeah,
like that.
it was the second
Uh,
ODI, I think.
my baby was crying, eyes opened, put her down for a feed, and then I just opened Crick Buzz, which is what normal people
Nice.
do at 4:30 or 5 in the morning.
Absolutely.
And I saw there was 1 over to go, 15 to, and I actually logged in, watched that over, and then went back to sleep. So
That's
you're right.
perfect.
If one can figure this out, it's a pretty good model to watch cricket.
There's a lot of potential benefit, that's for sure. Um, right, but we're not here to talk about that. I'm appreciative that you were able to make the time to be on. I know it's a little crazy, but hopefully it's a nice little break. We get to talk a little bit about India versus the West Indies, and then some of the India women's team's heroics in Birmingham in the Commonwealth Games that are going on, and heartbreaker initially, but a good recovery from then on. So, Varun, after we last recorded, India had won two ODIs. So DJ and I sat here and said, "Hey, the series is done. Are they going to try to change up the 11?" So let's talk about the third ODI, and then of course, since then there's only been the one T20. Interestingly, let me start by asking you, in that third ODI, I don't think they made any changes except that Prasidh played the first ODI, then they brought Aveshan for the second, and then Prasidh came back in. If I remember correctly, there were no other changes. Start with that, right? You're already up 2-0. You got a couple guys in the side, the Ruturajas, the Avesh in that case, and a few folks who you may want to play. What's the thought process on saying we're already up 2-0, let's play the exact same side for the third ODI? It's not very typical of Team India, is it?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, yeah, it's not that typical, but at the same time, what are you going to change? Because you're taking all these top guys, or at least out of the people you're taking, you want the top guys to get more and more and more match practice. And if you keep chopping and changing, somehow they're just not going to spend enough time in the middle. And I think that is ultimately what it comes down to for me. That while they like, you could have easily played Ruturaj, right? In the third ODI. But you persisted with Gill. Gill now hit 98, which is great for his confidence. And so sometimes I think that's where I think that's how it manifests itself into. So I'm okay with the fact that they didn't change, but yeah, I mean it's like you said rightly. Like where does it leave somebody like Ruturaj now? He's going on all of these, let's not call it India A tours, but the Sri Lanka, the West Indies, the Zimbabwe, and he's still not playing. Like, where does that leave somebody like Ruturaj?
Yeah, that's part of the problem, right? Like, there's a big argument to be made where people say, "Hey, being with the tour, being with this on the tour with the side, getting that type of experience, nets, conditions is all great, but at some level, yeah, he's not playing in the 11 at any point." And we're picking on him, but there's a few folks like this that have happened to, right? So, yeah,
It's
if you're
like
not
it's
playing,
like Kishan, right? Now
yeah,
Kishan is also touring. I don't know if Kishan has made a ODI debut yet. I can't remember offhand. But somebody like Kishan is now a wicketkeeper batsman. Samson is in and out of the team, and now you've chosen Samson over Kishan, and Samson
yeah,
has not been part of the setup at all.
yeah.
So now you've got Kishan, who in the peak or the prime years of his life is not playing any cricket for a 6 month period.
Kishan has played
And
three ODIs, one against
he
Sri
has.
Lanka, two against West Indies.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So that's what I'm saying, right?
oh,
It's
sorry, yeah.
you've taken him and now he's not playing. And we'll come to T20 because there was an opening batsman who was unexpected in the first game, and it was not
Yeah.
Kishan, right? So we'll come to that. But yeah, it's hard, man. It's tough.
So let's talk this ODI then, right? Like very quickly, I'm not going to recap all of it. Shikhar Dhawan makes another 50 at just below a run a ball. Like we've seen this story a million times already. Iyer
And
comes in at
I heard
full.
last week's episode, Rohan agreed with you, so it was nice for you that you had a nice. Uh, you had somebody on the podcast who agreed with your anchor
I know
theory.
that's pretty rare, right? Like you guys
Yeah,
always give me a
exactly.
hard
So
time.
I was happy for you when I heard that.
I needed that. Maybe that's why I had him on. But yeah, so Dhawan came and made a half century. Shreyas Iyer came and looked good and hit, and there was a lot of rain delays on and off and on and off. And the thing I want to talk to you about is it ended up being a 36 over match. First off, if there was risk of rain, you'd think the team in favored is the team that's chasing. So you'd think Dhawan would have wanted to win the toss and chase, but maybe let's say they didn't know that. Shubman Gill, 2 runs from his first ODI century. The team goes off for rain. He's sitting there thinking, that, what do we have? 84 balls remaining in the innings. We got plenty of time. And then a little bit more rain came down, a little bit more rain. And of course, then the innings, he was sitting there at 98 not out. And the innings was called off, and the West Indies was set a target to win. Like, how how disappointing is that for a young player who is so close to his first ODI century and just, yeah, rain took it away from him?
Yeah, incredibly frustrating because, like we said, in the big games, he's not going to play. And so getting a century on
Yeah.
the books was very important. We've discussed this before in the last couple of years. 98 versus 100 is just 2 runs. So nobody's going to discount him, especially since he's not out and rain played a factor. But having that first century to your name is it's game changing from a confidence perspective. And I wish it got it, man. Like I'm still mixed on Gill. I like the guy a lot, but there are certain things about him that I think I would still need to look at in more detail. But there's no doubt that he deserves a shot, and so that's why I feel bad that he missed his century.
So let me ask you then, before I'm going on a tangent, but before we talk about the Indian bowling innings, Rohit, Dhawan, and Virat is our top three. Is limited for time, right? We'll probably have a couple of years, best case. Is Gill one of your first choice openers to come in next? Who? Where do we go from here? Prithvi Shaw arguably was in the running for a long time and has fallen a little out of favor, at least in the 50 over format. Where does Team India go from here for openers next?
Yeah, I think Gill is going to be in the mix. So let's, because what has happened is Rahul's career is going to be extended, right? Beyond these Rohit Dhawan and Kohli. But Rahul, firstly, he hasn't played much cricket in 2022, international cricket. Secondly, the last time we saw him in a big tournament, he batted at 5. So his ODI, his role seems to be very different. And so I think Gill will definitely get a go. I also wouldn't rule out somebody like Padikkal, right? The left right combination. And there's lots of young guys coming up. And this is what we talk about. The problem with IPL is that everyone is a top 3 batsman. And it doesn't work that way necessarily when you move into the international setup. But from a long-term perspective, right now, let's just say Gill to me is ahead of Shaw because Shaw doesn't seem in the India setup at all. But there's going to be between Kishan, Ruturaj, Rahul, Padikkal. I think there's going to be enough competition.
Yeah. So for now, Gill batted really well, probably earned his call up for whenever the opportunity comes next. But West Indies came out to chase. I mean, first off, it benefits you to know how much you're chasing, but 227, I think they needed to win. No, 257, excuse me, to
And in
win
how
only
many?
just
36 overs? Or
36 overs, which is not undoable.
yeah,
But then, first over,
but it's
Deepak
still
Hooda gets
7 point, almost 7.2.
correct. So first over,
Yeah.
Deepak Hooda got the ball, which is interesting. Maiden. Next ball, Mohammad Siraj comes, gets a wicket. 2 balls later, Mohammad Siraj gets another wicket. So you're sitting there 9 balls in, 0 for 2 after 1.3. And, West Indies put up a couple partnerships. Pooran batted well. Brendan King batted well, but, couldn't survive more than 26 overs. Yuzvendra Chahal picked up 4. Clean sweep, right? Like not a ton to write home about, unfortunately, for the West Indies this series. Very happy personally for Yuzvendra Chahal. Just a top talent with the white ball, and so good to see him get opportunities and just always make them count. So, Varun, anything else on the ODI series before we move to the T20?
No, I think that covers it, man. It was a bit weird. I think partly I couldn't watch all of it, and partly it was such a clean sweep that I don't know. Yeah, I don't have much else to add. I don't know if this was West Indies' full strongest side. You know, there were some names missing, but again, if you try to follow, I don't know if Pollard is still playing uh, for West Indies. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where Russell is. I don't know where some of these guys are. So I don't know if this was a full strength side, but yeah, not much room to write about, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, there's for some reason for me, West Indies T20 cricket, which of course the first match ended well for India, but West Indies T20 is this behemoth, and West Indies ODI has just been lackluster for a while. And I don't have the data to back that, but just as I think about it, they just haven't been the same force in the longer limited overs format as they have in T20s. It's a good segue to talk about T20s. Right, first the first of 5 T20 matches happened on Friday, and first off, the guy who walked out for the toss was a little bit unexpected. I wasn't sure if he'd be back, but Rohit Sharma, skipper of the Indian T20s team, or the Indian all format team, if you will, has now won 13 T20s in a row under his captaincy. Right, so the ones we've lost to when he hasn't been leading. Talk to me about Rohit, man. Comes out, bats first, makes 64 or 44 balls, right? Like in an innings where Iyer failed, Pandya failed, Pant got a bit of a start but didn't go anywhere. Jadeja got a bit of a start, Sky got a start. This was the Rohit Sharma show, and then one more guy I want to talk about a little later. But 64 or 44, great knock at the top, right?
Yeah, fantastic. And he looked like he was coming out and playing like attacking cricket. He looked like he was taking his chances. He wanted. I think the thing with Rohit now is, yeah, he's got such a great captaincy record in different formats that I think he just wants to keep going now. Like in whatever time he has, let's assume he's got a 2 year captaincy window. I think he just wants to win and win and win. And he didn't get captaincy as long as like a Dhoni or a Kohli, and he won't have it as long as that. But the impact he can make in that time will be great. So yeah, I was very happy to see him bat the way he did. Strike rate of almost 150. I was trying to calculate the Basra, but it's not. It's like 200 and something. Yeah, 205. So that's pretty good.
Every couple of weeks you're on this show, you're just going to bring up Basra. That's it.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. But so I mean, overall, good to see Rohit. I think message for all the listeners is that yeah, he's just at the top. He's the captain. That's it. Like, back him now, support him. He's got good captaincy, kind of tactical changes on the field. He's got the shots to play. Up at the top, his pull is one of the best. So generally, very happy with Rohit. But since we're talking about up top, I would say, Ashwin, there's like 2 or 3 things I want to talk about in this innings.
Yeah, let's do
One,
it.
who opened the batting with Rohit?
Yeah, were you
Surya.
surprised by that?
I
Sky
was
walks out to
totally
open?
shocked. I put on that game. I was waiting, saying that, okay, if I've got 20 minutes to watch something, I'm going to watch the first 5 overs because Pant is going to open the batting, right? And so I put it on and I was like, come on, come on, come on. And then out comes Suryakumar Yadav. And I had to literally change the channel and check if it was buffering. Is this an old game? Is this not the right score? What happened there? Like, did I miss something? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, the only logic I have is I don't see Sky and Shreyas both playing in the ongoing setup, right? So, and I do think they're continuing. Like they didn't. It's the only thought I have. Like they didn't want to mess up Pant 4, Hardik 5, Jadeja 6. That's what they're trying on. I think you can have a world where you go Pant 5, Hardik 6, Jadeja 7, but I don't think. I think they wanted to really be able to stick to those 3 guys. So then your question become, okay, if you're not going to promote Pant to open because you want him to like cement his 4 or 5 spot, do you promote Shreyas and let Sky cement his 3? That's what I would have done. Because for me, Sky, in the T20 format, Sky is way ahead of Shreyas at 3. So for me, if you were really trying to test these guys out at their spots that they're going to play the Asia Cup and the World Cup, I would have left Sky at 3 and then promote somebody like a Shreyas to open. He's done it for in the IPL before when needed. But it seems like they wanted to keep, didn't work out. Obviously, Shreyas making a duck, but it seems like they wanted to preserve Shreyas at 3. It's the only explanation I have, transparently. I don't have a better idea.
Yeah, it was just too odd to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. 24 of 16 is what we've talked a lot about, an impact innings, and it does well. But my problem is, Sky would have made 24 of 16 even at 3 or 4, right? So what was the point of it? And did I don't know if you watched some of his shots, but he looked like he was not comfortable, especially when Hussain was bowling.
I mean, he
Um,
hasn't. Let's be honest. He hasn't looked comfortable in a while, right? He failed basically in all three ODIs. Now, DJ and I had a discussion after the second, saying, A, is two failures bad enough? B, after the third, like, is it enough to say, okay, he's a T20 guy, he's not a 50 over player for India, or is he just having a bad run? It's hard, but Sky has not looked great at the crease for quite a while.
yeah. Um, so yeah, so that was the thing with Sky, and then Pant to the second two before we go for break very quickly.
Yeah,
Pant 14 of 12 again suddenly comes into the middle order in a limited over game, or rather T20 game, and again looks average.
yeah,
He hit a century in his last outing, so let's not be harsh on him. But I, the more and more I see T20 and Pant, I just think he needs to open the innings, even if somebody else needs to like make their way down the order for that move to happen. And then let's talk about DK, man. Like,
yeah. So
what's hell?
before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. We will
Yeah.
come back, talk about the end of this innings and a couple other things in the world of cricket. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, hello, hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. So let me first tell you about this. There's been 1,000 episodes of Cyrus Says. We sit down and talk to all of the people who have put the show together. But yeah, come check it out. Check out our 1,000th episode. It's a great episode and I think you'll really enjoy it. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam Gupta talked to Jitendra Gupta, founder and CEO of Jupiter. They discuss the development in the neo-banking sector. On Hanswani, KC Shankar explores the story of four working-class men battling to survive in this modern world. On Nankari, Sadaf and Archit settle the confusion. Is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? And on Misconduct, Raghavi and Nisha talk about the Mexican folktale of La Llorona. Once again, everybody, remember we have amazing merchandise available. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/store or go to our website and you'll be able to see the link. Do check this out. Do buy some stuff. It really does help us out. Do remember, follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Remember, if you do tell a friend about a show and they listen to the show, you'll have somebody to talk to the show about. We'd really appreciate it also if you could give us a rating on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And finally, do remember we're also available on YouTube. A number of our shows are available as full video shows, but every show is available on YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, both Lifestyle, Small Case, Capgemini, and Intel V Pro. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Varun gave you a little spoiler on what I want to talk about, but man, I haven't fully processed the fact that this guy was basically confirmed. I think he had contracts for broadcasting. Like he was in the commentary box for Team India matches for a long time. I'm like basically saying, yeah, I'll still play IPL, but I'm kind of done. He captained an IPL franchise and lost his captaincy role. And he's 37 years old. And of course, I'm talking about Dinesh Karthik. This is the reinvention of all reinventions, right? He picked arguably maybe the toughest role in T20 cricket. Also, a role I don't know a lot of people have grown into. Like people like the Russells and the David Millers, the finishers of the world have always been finishers. And DK just chose to grow into it and own it and say nobody else is doing this. I mean, I'm just trying to do the math really quickly, right? When he walked out, it would have been 138 for 6 at the end of 16 overs. And so you're thinking, okay, 4 overs, if they can make another 30, 35 at that point, looks okay, but 160, 170. And of course, he gets them to 190, right? 41 of just 19 balls. It's 4 fours and 2 sixes. It's just unbelievable. His ability to hit runs in the last 10, 15 balls of an innings is unmatched in India, at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so amazing to see this guy at 37, 37 plus just come out and do this. And what is amazing to me is that you talked about like 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7. This guy has to play. So we got to figure out where everyone else is batting around him. The same way I said Pant should be at top, Karthik has to bat. Now, Karthik came below Jadeja this time, right? So I think it was Pant 4, Hardik 5, Jadeja 6. So Karthik came at number 7, hit 41 of 19. And even Rohit said that I didn't expect us to get to 190, like you mentioned. So I don't know, man. I think like to me his seat is confirmed. Now remember your Rohit is not Virat is not here, Rahul is not here. But Karthik has to play, man. Like that ability to do the to go at 215, 220 strike rate. He changed the game, right?
I think the amazing thing about that, and I won't go on a tangent about Team India's World Cup selection, but the amazing thing about that is if you're saying Rohit is for sure, right? I'm going to skip the other opener for a second. If you're then saying Sky, Pant, Hardik, Jadeja, and Karthik are your next five, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means you have one spot now for Rahul or Kohli. And the question is,
Yeah.
do you open with Kohli? Like, does Rahul, poor guy, after being basically India's second in command after Rohit, now he has to, because of injury and COVID he had recently, he has to regain his spot in the team. It blows the mind. To your point, DK has to play, and Hardik and Jadeja and Pant all have to play. I think either Pant or Rahul are the ones you make way, or Kohli, of
Yeah,
course.
I think so. I think, look, we all know the answer to that. The answer is Kohli sits out, and there is no doubt about that at all. Who does it? Does Dravid tell Kohli to sit out, or does Kohli tell Kohli to sit out? I don't know. But Kohli needs to sit out. That's the way Rahul and Pant both get to play. If
That's
Kohli doesn't sit out, yes, one of them has to go. There's no right answer. There's no easy way of picking who goes, but one of them has to go.
right. So good win for Team India. I mean, I would argue, honestly, if the West Indies were chasing 160, 170, they may have had a different approach. When you're chasing 190, they went all out from the beginning. Not a lot to say about the bowling. Kudos to two guys who really changed the game. Ravi Ashwin making his reappearance in T20 uh, India colors in T20s, and Ravi Bishnoi. Just magnificent. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but he was just toying with the bowlers. Like first ball was this sharp googly, and then he got a wicket shortly after that, and then bowled like there were a couple balls that the batsman came right down the track, swung big, missed, and Pant just held on to the ball a little bit before stumping him, and Bishnoi just looked unplayable. So full credit to him as well.
Yeah, and man, when you start looking at these scorecards, you just look at the depth of talent, man. Like you mentioned two guys, you didn't even mention Arshdeep Singh.
I was gonna say I have
Yeah,
to give a shout
like
out
you
to
talked
Arshdeep.
two guys, and these guys they're not in the top 15. Okay, they're not. They would not play for India's top 15. It's
It's
amazing.
unbelievable. Yeah, Arshdeep, by the way, I think gave 11 or 12 runs off his first couple balls. He got hit a little early and then ended up with figures of 2 for 24. So just unbelievably tight. I think it's probably a discussion for another day as to whether Arshdeep has been the answer to Team India's left arm quick bowling prayers. Like he's incredible, just incredible. So has had a really really good run. Varun, before we finish talking about the men, I want to just talk about the squad that was just announced for the ODI setup against Zimbabwe. So this is an interesting one where I think the Zimbabwe ODIs end just 4 or 5 days before the Asia Cup. So you look down the squad, you say there's no Rohit, no Rishabh, no Virat, no Hardik, no Bumrah, no Jadeja, none of those. But a couple of interesting inclusions, right? So Shikhar is going to captain it again against Zimbabwe. To your point, we talked about depth and all that. Gaikwad is in the squad, Gill, Huda, all that. Rahul Tripathi, first ever call up in ODI colors.
And he's not an ODI player. Like that's the point. What are you guys doing?
Why are you calling out these guys?
What
Well,
I
basically, we're going to get more and more trouble for uncapped players in fantasy league and IPL. That's what's like. If
I mean,
Tripathi's gone too, then we're in trouble.
what are you doing? Why are you giving a guy who's at the peak of his T20 form an ODI debut in Zimbabwe? It makes no sense. Like, am I missing something?
No, you're right. I mean, look, you've earned the ability to play in an India jersey, and India's going to play multiple teams at once and all that. So fine, but
In
they should play the
T20.
T20s. Yeah, in fairness, I don't know
Has
enough about
Tripathi ever
Tripathi.
played an ODI game in his
No,
life?
but I'm
Like,
sure he has a good domestic record. So, like, I haven't looked at. Anyway,
but
yeah, I can't argue with that as much. A couple of other interesting ones. Deepak Chahar is back. Right, there's a throwback from a few months ago. Like somehow, like he fell out of fashion a little bit, but he's back.
but social media is celebrating his comeback against Zimbabwe like there's no tomorrow. Like it's
That's
like Deepak
unbelievable.
Chahar is back, the swing king, all of that.
I mean, it's interesting. At one point, he did seem like the
And
next big thing for Team India.
the person I feel worst for in this entire squad Any guesses who I feel worst for?
In this entire squad, Kuldeep,
No,
Shami.
Mohammad Shami.
Why?
What is Shami doing there? Like,
Shami's not in the
he's
squad.
oh, sorry, I read that as okay.
Shami's not in the squad. Mohammad Siraj is in the squad.
Mohammad Siraj.
Okay,
I
you
thought
just
they.
read your mind
I
went
thought.
Mohammad S and you read it wrong.
Yeah, I thought they've
Shami's too
like
good for
put
this, man.
Tripathi in this squad, and they also said,
Is
"Shami, you go get some practice."
this even India's second best ODI squad, or is it kind of like 2.5? Not quite third best, but two
I
and a
don't
half.
know. Okay, look again. Like I think I read this, and I probably read it off some shady sites. But I think I read somewhere that Jay Shah wants a roster of 50 players ready at all times,
So
and he just
8.
wants.
You know, this is the future, right? World Cup 2027, India will have 3 teams.
Yeah,
All three
exactly.
make the
Yeah,
semis. The
and
final will be India A versus India B.
I mean,
All
as
revenue
we're on
goes
the
to the
corporate world,
BCCI.
if you think about how to, like how to grow revenue, there's only 365 days, right? So you can't
Just
increase
more
the number
teams.
of days. So what's the other option? What's the other lever you can pull?
Good. All right, this is too corporate. I do this podcast to get a break from my corporate life, but now, of course, we've intervened. So interesting. One last quick one on that one. Washington Sundar, right? Again, in the 50 over format, like, what is the role you want him to play? He's still young, right? Like, feels like he's been around forever, gone in and out and stuff. But like, are they really grooming Sundar as a potential future 50 over player?
I don't know. I think they're just grooming Sundar as a future Jadeja. But now you've got Akshar Patel, who's also doing well. Like I said, I mean, he bats well 1 every 5 games or 6 games, which is fine. That's not bad. But Sundar, I saw some videos of him online bowling in county cricket, and he looked solid there, man.
Oh,
Like,
nice. I haven't seen
yeah,
this.
like, yeah. So he's definitely like a test certainty for me in a year or two. But ODI versus Zimbabwe, I'm not sure. But hey, you know what? It looks like Shikhar Dhawan has got the best job, right? It's like
I mean,
you
gets
just
to captain the side, living
captain
the
the
dream.
side. All these guys look up to you. Everything is paid for. You're just getting these holidays across the world, and it's not a. It's almost like somebody said, "Ki, you know, let's keep Shikhar happy. And let's give him like all
Just
these
keep playing more ODIs,
smaller countries and stuff." And
keep
yeah,
making
I mean, why
50s at a
not?
run, just
Why
under
not?
a run a ball.
And he's winning 3-0. So can you can't change him for that.
No, you can't fault him at all. Right. So 4 more T20s to come. I think by the time we record next, all 4 will be done. So it'll be fun to debrief on those. Varun, I'm going to take a quick pivot and go to Birmingham, where the Commonwealth Games kicked off this past week. And Team India's women have showed up incredibly strong there. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the first one. I had it on. It was a little hard to watch in the US, but I found a way. And man, it was a heartbreaker. I mean, I will say the first match of the tournament was India versus Australia. Honestly, like, you've seen Team Australia play enough. I was like, all right, this India maybe has a 10 or 15% chance. Second match was going to be against Pakistan, and I think the third one is going to be against Barbados. So good opportunities to win 2 out of 3 there. Didn't think there was a shot against Australia. What happens? Team India comes out there, makes 154, which is pretty good. Like, kudos, unbelievable start from Shefali Verma, makes 48 of 33. Captain Harman truly played a skipper's knock, make 52 of 34, and gets to 154, which is a good score. I mean, it's a fairly solid score against most teams. Against Australia, you think, okay, it's probably good, not necessarily guaranteed win. And then the Australian batters come out. Some of the biggest, like, when you look down the scorecard, right, Alyssa Healy, Beth Mooney, Meg Lanning, Talia McGrath, Rachel Haynes, Ashley Gardner, like some of the strongest names. And I don't know if you got a chance to watch, but Renuka Singh bowled the spell of her life. It was unbelievable. Did you watch this at all, or have you been following?
I couldn't watch it, but I was following it online a little bit. I mean, she knocked off Healy, Mooney, Lanning, and McGrath. Like,
it was unreal. I was like jumping up and down in my seat, man.
Like 4 overs, 18 runs, 4 wickets, and that gets all top 4. I mean, Australia, that's like getting Joss Butler, Jason Roy, Joe Root, and Ben Stokes, right? That's what.
I mean, that's the parallel, right? That's the
World Cup
there.
winning squad. That's what it's like.
Yeah. So I really don't want to relive it. I will do it quickly, but it shows you honestly the depth of the Aussie side and how strong they're all the way down. I mean, 34 for 4 after 4 overs. You're thinking, okay, this is great, and then it went 5th wicket fell. 6 wicket fall. I think they were 110 for 7. With 6 overs left, they needed 48 odd runs, but they only had 3 wickets in hand. So you have Ashley Gardner, who's unbelievable talent, but Alana King on the other side. And unfortunately, they put up a magnificent, 48 run, 47 run partnership finished the match with an over to spare. At one point, Ash Gardner just looked like she had dinner plans and just was just hitting the ball so hard. And it was heartbreaking. Like, used that word so many times, but you don't expect to get Australia to a 34 for 4 and all 4 wickets by one bowler. So 100% credit goes to Renuka, but disappointing. I don't think, again, on paper, the unexpected result, but gosh, when you have Australia so close, you want to be able to capitalize. So that was a little disappointing. But then, of course, this morning, as we recorded this, India got to play their second match and, of course, played against the Pakistan women, in which case you go in saying India is more likely the favorites. But, it's still fun to see an India victory over Pakistan, right, Varun?
Yeah, exactly. That was fun. I mean, again, rain did come into play, but always good to see that. And Ashwin, this is the first time cricket is in the Commonwealth Games, right? Or no?
I believe so. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah,
It's been
so I
great to
think that
see.
for me is the biggest thing here is that everyone listening, please go watch, support, talk about it, because we want cricket to be included in these kind of games, and it's a great step. It's a great step forward.
I believe they played a List A men's tournament in the 1998 Commonwealth Games in Malaysia, but hasn't played since. So definitely first women's inclusion and first time in a long time. But
so that's really good.
I totally agree. I saw one of my friends, Trey, was at the ground in Birmingham today for the India-Pakistan match, and the atmosphere looked electric, just unbelievable.
Awesome.
So I got to see some of those. But yeah, I mean, Pakistan women 99 all out in the 18 overs they were allotted. Two overs reduced due to rain. Kind of a great bowling effort from everybody across the board, including Shefali Verma, who got thrown the ball, which was interesting to see for me. Picked up a wicket. And then, just like, I'm going to use the same cliche I used, but it looked like the Indian batters had somewhere to be. I mean, chasing 102, you would have backed them, but Smriti hit 63 off just 42 balls, makes a magnificent century. I mean, Shefali made 16 off 9. Jemmy didn't have to come doing anything because they were done in 11.4 overs. So great for the net run rate. Great to see a big victory. And a couple days away from India playing on Wednesday. India will play Barbados and hopefully qualify for the semi-finals if we can come out victorious in that one.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. So basically it's top 4, then playoff, and then because it's obviously a Commonwealth Games, you've got a third place as well.
Yes, for the bronze medal, right? So looking at it right now, Barbados won, also beat Pakistan, I think, but lost to Australia. So it'll be basically that's like a quarterfinal match coming up, whichever team wins. Now India's net run rate is really strong, but if they lose the points, Barbados is going to overtake. And then England and New Zealand looking solid in that other group. So will be an interesting semi-final. I'm excited to watch it. And I think by the time we come back to be with you all next, there'll actually be a winner already. So that'll be fun to watch. Right, Varun, some other things happening in the world of cricket, but nothing too exciting that we're going to cover. South Africa did beat England in a series, so not a great start to Joss Butler's captaincy career for white ball cricket. I think they didn't win a series all summer because they tied one in the ODIs and they lost 3 series. So not a great start, but I don't know what it is. Pretty exciting always to see England lose when it comes to the white ball, especially.
Yeah, exactly, and it's. I mean, I feel we all like Butler, but there's a little bit of joy in watching them lose white ball cricket, which they are so, which they believe they're changing the game. But anyway, focus has shifted for England, right? It's now all on baseball and Test cricket. So Joss Butler has a little bit of time to find his mojo, and I guess what's his motto or a new what is the new thing in ODI cricket for England, because they got 499. So now what? It's 600.
That's it. They have to find a new goal, a new something to set their sights on, and it's going to be tough. But like I said, I'm excited to see that. I think that brings us to a wrap. Varun, great to be able to relive the week's cricket with you. I'm hopeful by the time we get together next, India's got a big T20 series under our belt against West Indies and a Commonwealth Games medal, but TBD how those all shakes out. As always, thank you everybody for listening. We are at One Tip One Hand on all the social media. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Please leave us a review if you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to this. If you're on YouTube, click the like and subscribe button. That helps us grow our listeners. And we will be back next week to talk more about what's happening in the world of cricket. This has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.